Reed, what up, buddy? You want to work your team? I'll let you. Shout out to the Lost Boys. Y'all stay intact, all right? Peace right here in the building.
REED-BBS. BBS. Tszyu got that ass whooped. That's what had happened. But Tszyu, the good news is the cut from the Fundura fight was a non-issue. It was a non-issue. Aside from that, this was bad on all levels, all of which we'll get into. And is it too early to wonder if there's an Amazon curse? Something about Amazon and Tszyu, it ain't clicking, bruh. Two PBC Amazon shows, The Bloodbath with Sebastian Fundura, a Goodwill character-building L, about as positive an experience as an L can be. And then this, about as one-sided ass whoopings get. Now, there was no fill-out process necessary for Tszyu and IBF super welterweight champion Bakhram Murtazaliev. They got right to it. They got acquainted quickly, both men tasting heavy leather by the middle of the very first round. Tszyu, though, he was dropped by a huge left hook that he never saw coming and that he never recovered from in round two. Never saw it coming, never recovered from it. As clean and hard as the left hooks the Rod guy was whooping Devin Haney's ass with on 420. It was those type of left hooks. Now, Tszyu got up, got dropped again mid-round, fought back valiantly towards the end of the round before getting smacked and clubbed upside his head with a right hand a la Foreman Frazier for a third knockdown in the same round. The ref and the ring doctor, they bought Tszyu all the time they could to recover. They tried their damn best to help the brother out, help the house fight out. So after the 60-second respite between rounds, then the ref decided to have the doctor take a look at Tszyu. And the doc had to have given Tszyu, 15, 20 additional seconds of recovery time, but it was all to no fucking avail. Tszyu was already toast. He was already toast. So even as he hung on for dear life on unsteady legs, Tszyu brought the fight. He brought the fight to Murtazaliev. He was wading his ass back towards the danger. And that's what we supposedly love about Tszyu, right? We love it. He wants all the smoke. The toughest fights. That's what we love about him, right? Until he got violently countered with the same left hook that dropped him initially. Same punch, same hand, same result. Down goes Tszyu. Just like that. Now, thankfully and mercifully, Tszyu's corner threw in the towel because my man was on the verge, for real, and I don't joke when I say this. My man was on the verge of leaving the ring on a stretcher at the rate he was going. He was getting that ass whooped that bad. 3 rounds, I should say. 4 knockdowns later, Tszyu has his second consecutive loss. This was the absolute worst case scenario. All that, your daddy, Tszyu, Hall of Famer, one of the best super lightweights of all time, sitting ringside. Tszyu had been absent from Tim's fights since Tim's debut in 2016. This is your first fight back to see your son, and this shit played out. Now, as an aside, Tszyu had always wanted Tim to avoid facing Russian fighters. Tszyu's Russian. No one knows the Russian program and what their fighters bring to the table better than Tszyu. But he co-signed on Murtazaliev. Survey says, What's funny about this to me is PBC was lining Tszyu up. They were positioning him on that pedestal as their marquee guy, the face of the company, after Tank Davis, of course. It's Tank's company. But then Tszyu was right there next in line. And PBC never once tried to push Jaron Boots Ennis the way Tim Tszyu was being pushed. Never tried to push Boots that way. But now what? That's the question. Now what? Get my Guns N' Roses on. Where do we go? Where do we go now? you're Tim Tszyu, where do you go? I found some quotes from his peers kind of interesting. TerenceCrawford said, Tim thought he had an easy one. Took this dude lightly and was worried about other fighters. Errol Spence also chimed in, don't overlook anyone. And I have to agree with those gentlemen. Tim Tszyu was already talking about, hey, when I beat Murtazaliev, Erickson Lubin is the mandatory, so I'll have to fight Lubin next. But really, by 2025, it's about Spence and Crawford and all the big fights. Tim Tszyu was talking it up, talking about fighting any and everybody else but the task in front of him. He was also talking shit about Turkey a la Sheik, who was trying to make fights with him and shit. You know, he was like, well, yeah, you know, he's like I forget how he worded it. He called him a little kid, lollipop. He's like a young kid that didn't get his lollipop. That's what he said, talking about His Excellency Turkey a la Sheik. Well, that shit didn't age well. That certainly didn't age well. There was a Lou DiBella quote. Lou DiBella said, perhaps the worst career decision-making for a star-level kid ever. Ever. Horrible promoter, manager, corner, judgment from both one, in allowing Tim to continue in the Fundura fight, and two, following that with a beast like this guy who brought no gate or name recognition to the fight. I mean, no lies detected. No fucking lies detected. They nailed it. That's why I'm using their quotes, because they fucking nailed it. And again, where do we go? Where do we go now? What we don't do, where we won't go, is to Tim Tszyu, Bakhram, Murtazaliev too. That's what we do know. Because Bakhram Murtazaliev was way more fluid than his highlights and the Jack Culcay fight suggested. My man got a good, troublesome jab. He operated just fine from his back foot too, like surprisingly. And what we didn't know, at least what I didn't know was his Culcay performance was compromised by the fact that Murtazaliev is a practicing Muslim, and that fight was during Ramadan. So my man wasn't able to drink, ingest any food or fluids during the daylight hours, as he was training for a professional fight, a world title fight. That had to have compromised his performance. So that's why my man sat there at the presser and during Jimmy Lenning's instructions, even as a 7-1 underdog, that's why he sat there with that knowing smirk on his face. It's like, okay, yeah, y'all don't know what I know. Murtazaliev's length, his long arms, superior reach, height advantage, yeah, that's a fucked up matchup for Tszyu. And his hands have a knack for painfully finding Tszyu. Every time he hit Tszyu, he hurt him. It was shocking to watch. So what we do know is Tim Tszyu cannot beat Bakhram Murtazaliev. Tszyu can't beat that dude. I don't know where Tszyu. I don't know who he could beat. Where do we go? Where do we go, Tszyu? Back to the drawing board, bruh. Confidence builder in Australia, I'm thinking. Maybe revisit a ranked super welterweight late 2025, something like that. But yeah, you got to regroup, bruh. The ego. I like Tim Tszyu, but he was starting to feel himself a little too much. Back to the drawing board, bruh. REED-BBS, BBS, Blackbird Sugar, Bachelor's in Boxing Studies. Television, Red Sanford of the Fisticuffs. When all is said and done, there's nothing left to say or do.